The following step-by-step instructional DVD will help you to understand how to use the Steinel heat gun prior to starting your Dek-Master outdoor deck project. Please be sure to read all directions and Steinel safety instructions prior to use. Replay this DVD until you understand how the gun operates. We strongly recommend repeated practice, as shown in this DVD, prior to working on your deck seams. The more practice, the more professional your deck will look and will ensure you have a watertight seal. You should also read your Ducan Dek-Master brochure thoroughly, following all instructions for the thickness of vinyl you are using. Make sure all items you will need are in the box you have purchased or rented from your building store. You should have the Steinel heat gun, reduction nozzle, slit nozzle, beveled silicone roller, written instructions, and the instructional DVD. The items you will need to practice heat welding are as follows: the Steinel heat gun kit, a scrap piece of plywood at least 18 inches square, a scrap piece of vinyl to cut into 2 to 2.5 inch strips, a 3-inch straight edge ruler, a razor knife, a staple gun, staples, and a measuring tape may be necessary to measure the vinyl. You may practice indoors in a well-ventilated area, although we do recommend you practice outdoors because of the fumes that can occur from the melted vinyl. If you find the heat gun smokes too much, it is an indication that the heat is too high on the gun. Do not inhale the smoke fumes from the heat gun, and remember to never place your hand in line at the tip of the gun, as you will be burned from the very hot air. While the heat gun is unplugged, prepare the heat gun for use. Place the reduction nozzle snugly on the end of the heat gun first, and then attach the slit nozzle to the reduction nozzle. Cut the strips of vinyl into 2 to 2.5 inch widths and cut the lengths to fit your scrap plywood. Cut many lengths, as it will be advantageous to do a lot of practicing and will give your final deck a professional look. Place the first strip of vinyl on the plywood and staple it to the board. Make sure you leave space to overlap the vinyl without the staples in the way. Place the next piece of vinyl 1 inch over the first piece and staple it again, making sure to keep the staples out of the way of the overlap so it doesn't interfere with the heat welding process. Continue overlapping 2-inch pieces of vinyl and stapling until you have filled the plywood with vinyl strips. You are now ready to start practicing with the heat gun. Plug the Steinel heat gun into the outlet. Make sure the setting is on number 1. Flip the switch on the gun to the second setting, orange with 2 white stripes, for 1 minute. Be sure to keep the tip away from you, as it will get very hot quickly. Now flip the switch up a notch to red with 3 white stripes. Gradually, turn the number setting higher using the dial. The number settings will tell you how hot the gun is. The higher the number, the hotter the blowing air from the gun will be. The setting you will need depends on a few factors: how hot or cold the temperature is outside when doing your seam and/or the thickness of the vinyl. If you are using 60 mil vinyl, try using the 4 or 5 setting to begin. You will know if it is too hot by the amount of smoke that emits from the unit. Another indicator of too much heat would be burning holes in the vinyl. If you find the vinyl is not melding together, it is an indication that the heat gun is not hot enough. It may take some adjusting to find the right setting. Try a few runs of practice vinyl to find the right heat setting. With the heat gun on, place the gun's slit nozzle under the flap of the 1-inch overlapped vinyl and run it briefly down the length to burn the polyester fuzz off the backing. This is a quick process, and you can move the gun quite swiftly to do this. Now you can begin to heat weld the 2 pieces of vinyl together. Slide the heat gun slit nozzle under and to the very back of the 1-inch overlap, and slowly slide the heat gun along the length following with the roller. Your speed is determined by your heat settings and the thickness of the vinyl. 2 passes may be enough, but we suggest 3. Once the first pass has been done, again place your slit nozzle under the 1-inch flap just to the center of the overlap, and again slide the heat gun beneath and the length of the overlap followed by the roller. Once you are confident you have achieved a good weld, you can start your final pass. Tilt the roller onto the round beveled edge, holding the heat gun just off the vinyl. Direct the heat nozzle to the edge of the vinyl and watch the edge of the vinyl for a slight curl. At this point, roll the beveled edge of the seam roller over the curled edge with slight pressure, welding the edge together. A slight weld line will appear for the perfect seal. Make sure you practice many times before doing your outdoor Dek-Master vinyl deck project. It is common to have inconsistency in the beginning, but shortly, after some practice, it will become easier and the meld will look more professional. Keep practicing until you feel satisfied with your heat welded seam. To check to see if your weld is completely adhered together, use your fingernail down the edge of the vinyl. If you can pry it up, you will have to weld it again. It is important to check this when doing your actual outdoor Dek-Master vinyl deck project, as you don't want any leaking to occur because water has entered the seam area. When you are finished using the heat gun, turn the number setting down to 1 and flip the switch to the blue setting with one white line. Let it sit in an upright position, nozzle up, for a few minutes before completely shutting it off. Make sure to unplug the unit when done. Do not touch the nozzle tips for at least 20 minutes after turning the unit off, as they are still very hot. When you are ready to heat weld your actual Dek-Master vinyl outdoor deck, you will find you have edges and corners which may be harder to get to with your roller. You must work the roller in different ways or by bunting the roller to the vinyl to get it to adhere. Do not direct the gun at your hand while pushing the vinyl down, as it is scalding hot. When doing your outside deck corner, slice the vinyl just to the edge. Now take the bottom flap and glue it under the top flap to the flashing. Cut the vinyl at flashing or tuck extra vinyl under the flashing, and heat weld it, producing a watertight seal. When doing your inside corner edge, push the vinyl tight against the corner and fold it over into a triangle. Heat weld the triangle flap to the vertical side of the house. The vinyl should be at least 6 inches up the wall of the house when attaining a building permit. The vinyl will typically be enclosed with siding. When doing a post, make sure your vinyl goes up 6 to 8 inches. You will need to relief cut the vinyl near the edges of the post to make it fit. You will also need to cut patch pieces of vinyl to make the post watertight. Be sure to wrap the post, leaving no room for water to penetrate. You may use molding where the vinyl ends on the post. Be sure to use Dukaflex caulking to ensure a watertight seal. The vinyl looks shiny where it was rolled. Although some shininess will occur, if you find the vinyl becoming very shiny and distorted as you roll, it could be that you are using the roller in a back and forth motion or pressing too hard. Overpressing will cause the vinyl to sheen and distort. If it's only a slight natural sheen without distortion, it will dissipate as time goes by. The vinyl is sticking to the roller or heat gun tip. Your heat is too high. Turn it down slightly. The heat gun goes right through the vinyl. Your heat is too high and/or you are not moving the heat gun fast enough down the length of the seam. Turn the heat down or do not let the gun sit in one position. Keep it moving down the seam. The heat gun is smoking. Your heat is too high. Turn it down slightly. The vinyl is turning black. Your heat is too high. It could be some vinyl is sticking to the tip of the gun, burning, and then re-adhering to the seam. Vinyl seam pulls up easily. The gun is not at a high enough heat setting. Edge of vinyl looks big and blotchy after heat welding. You may be pushing too heavily on the beveled edge of the roller. Edge not forming a seam line. Not using the beveled edge directly on the seam edge or there is not enough heat. Now that you have practiced using the Steinel heat gun and read your Dek-Master instructional guide, you are ready to do your outdoor Dek-Master deck project. When acquiring a building permit, please check with your city building department for all the requirements needed for your deck, as these codes do change. This educational DVD is a valuable resource provided by Ducan Products. If you have further questions regarding heat welding or our products, please contact our office for more information.